This unit's learning activity focuses on some string methods that we've been looking at. We're going to parse some weather data. So the idea is that we're going to help create an app, maybe like for a smartphone or something like that, that displays the current weather information. We've looked briefly at this before, but the weather information comes from the National Weather Service. They have a website for this. They have weather feeds by state, so you can select whatever state you're in. I'm going to go to Minnesota. They have different weather stations, so I'm in Duluth right now, so I can click on the Duluth weather information and look at the XML feed. And they formatted in a nice format like this. And we can do the same thing. What we'll do is we'll get the raw weather data from them, and then we can see what how to format that. So our app will be able to go to this website, grab the data automatically, and then we'll just have to format it. And what we want to do is print it out some nice way. The current weather in Duluth, say that at the top, and then say the current conditions are, and then there we'll print something out there from that we'll get from the web feed. And the temperature, we'll print that out, and that we'll get from the web feed. And the wind speed, we'll print that out and get that from the web speed. So to start with, I want you to open up this learning activity start program down here. And then we'll go through that. So open that up. It should have a weather class. You should be able to compile it. And if you run it, right now it goes out and grabs the whole weather string. This is the string we get from the Weather Service and displays that whole string. Now this is what is called an XML file, and I'm not going to go into too much detail how it is, but you'll see that is broken up into tags that are surrounded by a greater than and less than sign, less than, greater than sign. And then at the end of the tag is a similar tag, but it has a backslash in it. And we're going to want to watch some particular tags in like here's the weather tag. That's the current weather condition, like rainy or foggy. Right now it's foggy in Duluth. And here's the end of that weather tag. And here's the temperature in Fahrenheit. And here's the end of the temperature in Fahrenheit. Notice the end one has a backslash here. And then we need the wind speed. If I look down here, is the wind in miles per hour. And then the end. So those three lines are the lines we want to grab. So again, here's the three lines and the tags that we want to grab. And depending on the time of year and what weather is outside, the values here will change. But the tags themselves, this is what we call a tag. This greater than, less than stuff with a word in front, inside. Those and an end tag. Those tags will stay the same. So right now it prints out every line, and your job is to switch this so it only prints out certain lines. For this, and we can search a string. So let's just look at how this works. So here's our main method here. We have this weather URL. This is the URL for KDLH, is the weather station in Duluth here. So we declare that URL, and then we read that into what is called a buffer. And again, you don't need to know this stuff too much. We read it into what is called a buffer called infile. And then we're going to read through that infile. Here's a loop, a while loop. And again, you don't need to know too much about the while loop, but we read in a line, and then we check while that line is not null. And we'll read in line by line until we get to the end of the file, and then the line will be null. So we just do this while loop, and what this does is make sure every time through this weather line, which is a string, will be set to one string in here. So we just print this file out one string at a time, one line at a time. So weather line is set to the first string. So let me run this again, or bring up our example output. So weather line is set to this, and that prints out. And then weather line is set to this. So each line, we go line by line through this file. And we want to stop and find this line, a line that has the word weather in it, with the weather tag. So less than, weather, greater than. So how do we search for some element in there? So right now we just print off this file. Now you have to relieve this. This is where we read the next line from the weather tag. So don't change this. You shouldn't have to change this. You should just have to change this part of the loop in here where we're printing things out. So that's where you want to be putting your code. So we want to do this index of to do a search of the weather. So if we're from zyBooks, we look at like unit 5.9, some methods for strings, getting the length of a string, and there was an index of method. So we could say given some string, we could ask for the index of, and then either a character or another string, and that's what we'll be doing here. And you did some exercises using index of to do various things with this. So we're going to use that same index of here for this. Now, index of, we can search for weather, the weather string here, and if we find this tag in a line, we should print it out. So let's look at that. So why don't you try to change this? So rather than always printing out the weather line, try to change this so it only prints out the weather line if weather line contains the string index of. So why don't you try to do that, and then I'll give you a quick hint. Okay, here's our first hint. So what we want to do is put an if statement around there. If, and now we're going to search a string, so we have to always start with the string method. Weather line is our string. We define that up here as a string, and each time we're reading it through, we're setting that to the new line. So weather line dot index of. So that'll search through and find our index of. Now, what does it return? So if we look back in zyBooks, index of returns the index of the first item occurrence, otherwise -1. So if it finds it, it tells us where it found it. Otherwise, it'll return -1. So if our string is help me and we're searching for the index of me, it will find me in here and it'll return 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It starts at the 5th character, so it should return 5, and that's why it says this returns 5. Now if we try to search for something that's not found, it will return -1. So back in our code here, we're going to search the weather line, so that string, for the tag weather. And if it finds it, it'll return something greater than or equal to 0. So otherwise it'll return a -1. So I'm just going to say, well, that's greater than or equal to 0. Return this. So let's compile this and see if this is going to work. So I have to make sure my brackets or my braces are lining up. I've got one starting there and ending here, so that looks better. Try to compile again. So no errors. Now let's run this. So now it still said it's printing out the entire weather string for now, but it's not, and it's not actually printing anything out. So it was printing out everything. Now it's not printing out anything. So I must have got an error here. Let's look through this. I want to search for the weather tag like this, and when I find it, I want to print out that line. So here I'm searching the weather line dot index of the weather tag. Oops, and I got to get that exactly right. So here it's all lowercase. So let's me get that exactly right. I can even copy and paste this here so I get the spelling and everything exactly right. Okay, so now I'm going to search and if I find it, meaning if it returns something that's not -1, a location, then I'm going to print out that weather line. Okay, compile this again, run this again. So now it printed off the weather here. but it printed out the whole line, the weather tag and weather of sort of stuff. So I want to modify this a little bit. See if you can only print off the actual weather, fog / mist, for us. I'm also going to delete this stuff at the beginning. Now let's see, what am I supposed to print out? I'm supposed to print out the current Duluth weather. So I'm going to change my code. So rather than saying print out the weather here by parsing the weather string, I'm going to say print out current Duluth weather. Okay, so that'll print it off at the before my loop starts, and then I'll start going through my loop and searching through the weather string. I'm going to find the weather string. So now let's try this again. Run this again. And again, current Duluth weather, and it prints off this, which is getting close. I want it to print off now. I want to say the condition is, and then right now it's foggy / mist. But it's printing off this weather tag. So how do I print off only a part of this? And here I can use the substring for this. So we've started using the index of. Now the substring method I want to use. And so let's look back at what the substring method does. So substring, I specify a starting index and an ending index. So I can print off from 13 to 7. So you can try this out. See if you can use substring to only print off part of this weather. So rather than printing out the whole weather line, you want to print off weather line. And again, to call a substring, we have the string, and then we say dot substring. And where do you want to start and where do you want to end? So why don't you see if you can get that to work. Now if I look at the output, I can get an idea of what this should be. Oops, I lost my output, it looks like. Let me bring that up again here. Okay, I'm going to print out, let's say this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to start the 9th letter. And I'm going to go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 9 to 16. Let's try that. So substring, start at 9 and go to 16. Get my parentheses all lined up. Let's see if I can compile. That looks good. So it's getting closer. Now I'm printing off fog, but I'm starting one line too early. It's still catching this. So I think rather than 9, I'm going to go 10. Sometimes you have to watch the counting, and sometimes there's like invisible tab characters in our text that will cause problems. So now compile that again and run this. So getting closer. Fog / mist. I need to go a little bit further. Must not have counted right. I think I want to go to 18 here. So fog mist. So that looks good. Now I wanted to actually print out the condition is, and then fog / mist. So I'm just going to modify my code a little bit here. So I'm going to add a print before that. I'm going to do a system dot out dot print. I'm not going to use print line because I want this on the same line, and I'm just going to print out the condition is. So if it finds the weather tag, it'll print out the condition is, and then wait on that same line, and then print, and then search through the weather string and find that weather tag and put it there, whatever the weather is. Let's see how that's doing. Condition is fog / mist. That's looking good. So next thing you want to do is the temperature, and let's see if you can do this by yourself. Temperature and wind speed. See if you can do this by yourself, similar to this where we're searching for the weather tag. We want to write another if-then statement to search each. So this searches for the weather tag. You want to do another one for this tag, the temperature Fahrenheit, or temperature underscore F tag, and another one for the wind underscore MPF. So why don't you see if you can do those. Pause this video and try to work on those for a while. And then return here. So how'd you do? Here's what I've done so far. So I've duplicated our if then. So again, we've got one line of weather, and I'm going to check if it has the weather tag in it, and I'm going to print out the weather tag conditions. I'm going to check if it has the temperature tag in it, and if so, print out the temperature. And I'm going to check if the current line has the wind mile per hour. So this will keep looping through and check line by line as it reads in each line from the National Weather Service, and then print out just the parts we want. So I've duplicated this loop, so I have 3 loops here, each one checking for a different tag: the weather tag, the temperature, or the miles per hour. And then if I find the temperature, I print out the temperature is. If I find the wind speed, I print out the wind speed is. And I've set up these. So like the temperature tag, this tag is only 9 characters long, so I start at the 9th character. I think it's only 8 characters. I start at the 9th character for the next substring to grab the right thing out of this. So if you remember, our original program went through and it went line by line and printed off all the lines, and we just want certain lines here, like this line and this line and this line. So we've changed that so that now we search through and find only the text files that where we search each line and check. If it has a weather tag, we print out the weather conditions. If it finds the temperature tag, it prints out that. If it finds the winds miles per hour, it prints that out. So that's what these are doing, is checking, searching, doing weather line dot index of to search the string for this tag. And if it finds it, it should return a location greater than 0, and it'll print this out. So this is getting pretty close. My printout still isn't quite there. So I'm printing out this. It looks like I'm still got one extra greater than bracket here that I need to fix. And so it prints out the current Duluth weather. It prints out the condition is few clouds, or in this case foggy/mist. Temperature is, now I'm not printing out this degrees Fahrenheit or miles per hour. I should add that so that after I print off my temperature, I should say degrees Fahrenheit. So you can add that in now and get this working. Now one problem we're going to have is that this isn't going to work in all cases. So while this method here will work with the current weather, as soon as my weather changes, so like later on if it's clear, so it prints out clear, where this weather condition is shorter or longer than the current condition, I'm grabbing substreams. I'm always grabbing from 10 to 18. And if the weather condition is longer or shorter than that, it'll goof up. Same with the temperature. I'm grabbing characters 9 through 13 of the temperature to get that. But if it gets to single digits or to over 100 degrees, then this is going to work. Same with wind speed. Wind speed could easily jump up to 20 miles per hour here, and then my printout won't work very fast. In fact, I'm pretty sure I had this working before and the wind speed was fine because it was 2 digits. Let me run this again and see. Oops. So it's still saying it's 4.6, but again, I think I had this working before, and this greater than wasn't working because it was like 11.4 miles per hour, and now it's only 4.6, and so I'm getting this extra tag in here, part of the tag. So what I want to watch is how I calculate this 18. So how do I know when I can stop or end? So let me run this original one so I can see my tags here. So if I have a tag like this, wind speed 4.6 miles per hour, now this tag is always going to be the same, so I know when to start. I can program that in. But where do I end? So what I want to do is I want to find this end spot, and do that. So this will work with the current conditions, but not all conditions over time. So here I want to search for this also. So I'm going to declare another integer in here in each one of these, int end point, and I'm going to search. Now remember, I'm going to search for this end tag inside my other tag. So I'm going to search for this tag or this tag, the end tag with the slash in it, and find where that works. And remember, we did searching by doing index of. So I'm going to say, I'm going to do my weather string, or weather line is my string, dot index of, and I'm going to search now. Here I'm doing the temp, so I'm going to search for the end of the temp tag, that tag. Now that'll find the endpoint where this temp tag finds. Now see if you can stop giving these hints and change this so this will work using this endpoint rather than hard coding in this 13 in here. Okay, so did you get to work? Okay, here's what I did. I put the endpoint right in here, and then I did something similar for these other ones. But like for the weather tag, I'm searching for weather miles per hour, and if I look through here, the end is this tag. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to search for that as my end tag. Similarly, for the weather conditions here, I'm going to add this endpoint and search for weather. And then I have to make sure I'm using this endpoint in my substring to end at the right location. Okay, try to compile that, see if I have any errors. That's looking good. Let's try to run that. Now that should work. It's finding the right endpoints, and now if the temperature, the lengths of these things change over time, it should still run and give me the right weather conditions. There's a couple bonus challenges if you want to try them out. One is you can change this so that the average temperature in November here is 31 degrees. So you can add a line that displays current temperature difference from the average temperature. Now one thing you have to watch is that we are working with strings, and in order to do this subtraction, you're going to have to convert it to integers and do some arithmetic on that. Another option would be to list a couple menu locations, and you can go to the weather service and find all locations, and so that they could then display a little menu, say 1, 2, 3, display these weathers, and then have them enter 1 and then display that. In order to do that, you have to change your code so that you right away you ask the menu, and then you change this URL to a different URL before you read it in here. So consider trying some of those bonus challenges. Okay, hope you enjoyed this exercise.